All right, if you're in the middle of buying or selling a home, you know the feeling. You're just waiting. And a lot of times you're waiting on that one big thing, the appraisal. It can feel like this total black box, right? Like it's holding your entire deal hostage. So let's pull back the curtain and figure out how long this process really takes. You've done everything right so far. The loan's looking good, the inspection is clear, but your whole deal really does hang on this one report. So the big question is, how long are you going to be holding your breath, waiting for that magic number? You want the honest answer? Well, it varies a lot. Seriously, we are talking anywhere from just a few days on the super fast end all the way up to nearly 3 weeks. That is a massive window, so let's break down exactly what's going on behind the scenes that causes such a huge spread. Okay, so while that range is pretty huge, there is a typical journey. For most people, most of the time, appraisals fall somewhere within a 6 to 20-day window from start to finish. Let's walk through what that timeline actually looks like day by day. So, the clock starts ticking the second the lender officially orders the appraisal. That's day 1. Now, the actual visit to the house, that usually happens pretty quick, typically within a week. But the final report, that's the long part. That can land in your inbox anywhere from day 6 all the way to day 20. That 6 to 20-day window, that's really the key time frame to have in your head. So what in the world is happening inside that 20-day window? It's definitely not one single task. The whole thing is really broken down into 2 distinct phases, and each one has its own timeline. First up, you've got the on-site visit. That's the part you actually see happen. Then, second, and this is the real time killer, is what we call the report turnaround. That's all the behind-the-scenes work. Let's see how the timing breaks down between these two. Here's the first big surprise for most people. The actual visit to the home is incredibly fast. The appraiser is usually in and out in under 2 hours. Sometimes it's as quick as 30 minutes. They're there to measure, take some photos, assess the general condition, and that's about it. This is by far the shortest part of the entire process, because this is where the real work actually begins. After that quick visit, the appraiser is going to spend the next 3, maybe even 10 business days digging into data, researching comparable sales, analyzing the market, and then compiling that massive final report. So just remember, when that appraiser walks out your door, their job has really only just started. Of course, that 10-day window, it's not a guarantee. There are a bunch of wildcard factors that can easily push your timeline way to the longer end of that spectrum. Let's look at what those are. Pretty much anything that makes a home unique can add time. You got a huge property? More time. A house way out in a rural location? More time. Any kind of unusual features? That all requires more research. But, one of the biggest delays often comes from finding comps, those comparable sales. If there just aren't many similar homes that sold nearby recently, the job gets a whole lot tougher. And on top of all that, if it's a busy home buying season, the appraisers simply get backlogged. But maybe the biggest wild card of them all is simply where you live. Timelines can change dramatically depending on the location. Our source material actually gives us one really specific hyperlocal example that proves just how different things can be. Check this out. In the Marysville, Washington area, one local firm estimates a much faster turnaround. Here, they're saying the entire process could be wrapped up in just a few days to maybe a little over a week. This just goes to show you how hyperlocal real estate truly is. And, this highlights the single biggest lesson about timelines. It doesn't matter if we're talking about Marysville, Washington, or Marysville, Ohio. The takeaway is the same. Real estate is local. The timeline in one town tells you absolutely nothing about the timeline in the next town over. You really have to know what's normal for your specific market. So why are we so obsessed with this timeline anyway? It's not just about managing our anxiety. It's because every single one of these days directly impacts the most important date in this whole transaction, your closing date. Okay, pay very close attention to this number. Federal lending rules generally require that you, the borrower, get a copy of that final appraisal at least 3 business days before you can actually close on the loan. This is the rule that can derail everything. People call it the 3-day rule. And what it means is that even if that report magically arrives on your scheduled closing day, it's too late. The law requires a 3 business day review period, and if that rule isn't met, your closing will be postponed. The final countdown doesn't start until that report is in your hands. So as you're planning your move, scheduling your life around that big closing date, just remember this. With its totally unpredictable timeline and that strict 3-day rule, The appraisal isn't just another item to check off a list. It might just be the biggest wild card in your entire transaction. And honestly, knowing that is the key to planning for it.